for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we'd make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime decisions with you on SportsGrid on a busy Thursday night. College football is underway. A top 25 team in action right now with Boise State on the road against South Florida. That game is into the second quarter. We are live over the next 90, so we will cover that. No doubt about it. Kevin Walsh here on this Thursday evening. And we have a lot of college football to get to. The home team, Rutgers, is hosting Ohio, a MAC team right now tied up. A number of kickoffs at 7 o'clock. We are involved in that slate. We also, tonight, couple of baseball, couple WNBA, but a huge odds-shifting trade in the National Football League with the Dallas Cowboys trading away their best player and one of the best edge rushers in the league in Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Parsons, the defensive player of the year favorite prior to the trade, sees the number grow shorter. He will, of course, have a case to make with his impact that will be felt at Lambeau Field. Micah Parsons coming off of another 12-sack season, doing so in only 13 games. Record-breaking money for Micah Parsons. There is so much fallout with this one, and I promise we will dive into it deep here tonight. We'll have NFL insider Adam Kaplan stop by and get his thoughts. But you're tuning in to Game Time Decisions. I assume you want to get on this college football slate. You want best bets, you want picks, you want juice, and I like where your head's at. So let's get in the mix here. At 7 o'clock, my best bet, Akron and Wyoming over the 47.5, minus 115 juice. These are teams that are never super talented, but if they can return a couple of key players, that's noteworthy, and both teams return their starting quarterbacks with a key pass catcher to boot. Wyoming's Caden Anderson will likely be targeting John Michael Gillenborg, their lead tight end. The backup tight end, by the way, was last year's Week 1 starting quarterback, Evan Sabota, which is just remarkable. Ben Finley will go for Akron. Look for wide receiver Alex Adams to have himself a strong season for the Zips. I expect passing, efficient passing. I think this game is a coin flip, 30-27, 30-24, either direction. I like points over in Akron, Wyoming. You know I'm not the only one with a best bet. We always get our crew on the board as well. A team total college football, baseball pairing It's the Braves to score 3 in their game today against Philadelphia, and the Cincinnati Bearcats team total under. That's supposed to be under 24.5 points. Don't worry, I'll pick you up there. That's under 24.5 points at plus 114. Yarnell is going to go for the over in NC State ECU. That is a 7 o'clock kick. A lot of people like that over. Expect juice in that game. It's CJ Bailey who will lead the Wolfpack in a matchup, by the way, between two teams who last year closed out the season against one another. The game ended in a brawl, a lot of bad blood. Should be a fun one to follow, and we will follow it here. Pat hits the W, goes to Nneka Ogimwe over the 16.5 points. Seattle's on the road against the Minnesota Lynx. It does look like a Seattle spot if you can stomach it. A team who feels like they often give backers brutal losses. We'll see if that's what it looks like tonight on the road. The main event on this slate is undoubtedly late night in Arrowhead. It's not NFL season just yet. We're getting close, obviously. But the Cincinnati Bearcats and the Nebraska Cornhuskers playing where the Kansas City Chiefs play gives us a neutral site between the two power teams who are actually going head-to-head on this slate here. Nebraska at 6.5 is a number that looks like, and I'm going to double-check this now because things we know move. It's a later game. It's a 9 o'clock game. It looks like we're seeing some movement in the market here, actually, on the Cincinnati side. Let me see if this is the case. 5.5 in one spot, but not overwhelming. Still 6.5 mostly, all in all. I'm laying the number with Nebraska. You know, at first glance, I thought this game actually was in Cincinnati, and I thought the spread was 6.5. And, can I actually trust Matt Rule's group to go out there and cover a number on the road? This is a neutral site. It's a neutral site, if anything, that I think ramps up Nebraska. Specifically Dylan Raiola. I mean, it's all too on the nose that the Pat Mahomes clone is playing where Pat Mahomes plays his home games, but there's a lot of expectations on Dylan Raiola this season. Weapons like Emmett Johnson, the returning running back who was heavily involved in the receiving game, or Kentucky transfer Dane Key, expect to lift him up with a really strong offensive line, it looks like, in front of him this season. Year number 2 going with Dana Holgerson, their offensive coordinator. There is buzz and excitement this season for Nebraska. On the Cincinnati side of it, the expectation, if any, that comes for Scott Satterfield's group, it's going to be Brendan Sorsby, their quarterback. He's a little athletic, but I don't trust him as much in the passing game, and the strength of this Nebraska defense looks to be the secondary. That's why I'm laying it with Nebraska. I think they're going to have steady movement of the ball in a lower-scoring game, and I think when Sorsby maybe is attempting to backdoor a number, he's going to be throwing into the strength of the Cornhusker defense. I'll lay the 6.5 tonight with Nebraska on the road. Where else are we on this college football card? Could we only be involved in 2 games? Stop. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Jacksonville State will take the 20.5. I was hoping to get a 21. We didn't get there. We shouldn't have been able to get there, and we didn't. Here's the deal. Scott Frost back home with UCF. The disastrous tenure that he had after leaving UCF at Nebraska. Now he's going to see if he can get back to the winning ways that he had for Central Florida. That is the UCF team that went unbeaten, beat Auburn, claimed a national title. I love that, by the way. I think that's great. I think they should hang the banner. But I don't think this team has a lot of juice this season. They offensively nor defensively have really anything that you're going to be able to hang your hat on. And I think for Jacksonville State, the transfer quarterback Gavin Wimsatt, I understand that he did not meet expectations really at Rutgers and certainly not at Kentucky where he transferred. But he is still a legitimate athlete at a quarterback position. I think he'll be better than people expect in Conference USA games for Jacksonville State. And I think his ability to run will allow Jacksonville State to stay inside the number. This isn't a guy, by the way, in Scott Frost where it's like, oh, he went to Nebraska. Whenever he got into these spots, he rolled these teams. This is a guy who lost to Troy, and I think his second ever game as the coach at Nebraska. Give me Jacksonville State plus the 20.5. Give me Buffalo plus 17.5. I really like Buffalo as far as a team goes. They return a ton. Nearly the entire defense, nearly the entire offensive line, all their key weapons, including their running back Henderson, who should be comfortably running for 1,000 again this season. Taquan Robertson, the former Penn State and Kansas State backup quarterback, gets a chance to actually play here at the MAC level. This is a team I legitimately considered to make the college football playoff. But the MAC may be too crazy to ever actually get a team into the CFP. If Buffalo shocks Minnesota here, who goes without their defensive coordinator from last season, Heatherman, he's now with Miami, and is starting a quarterback with 5 career pass attempts. If Buffalo pulls off the upset, those college football playoff hopes will actually feel real. Duke against Elon. Duke last season hosted Elon. So they played the same exact team. They won that game 26-3. Didn't cover the number. It was a little disappointing. Well, Duke spent big money to upgrade the quarterback position with Darian Mensah. They only scored 10 in the first half last year against Elon. I think they might score 21 in the first quarter. I'm laying 20.5 in the first half with Duke against Elon. We have more to get to. College football card. Micah Parsons is a Packer. It's next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions right here on a Thursday night. Kevin Walsh with you. A big review happening right now in USF Boise. We'll keep you dialed in on that game. The card so far, best bet, it's Akron, Wyoming, over the 47.5. I'm on Jacksonville State plus the 20 and a hook. I'm on Buffalo plus the 17.5. I'm laying the 6.5 with Nebraska. I just want to make this clear. We did it right before the break. I'm going to lay the first half 20.5 with Duke against Elon. This is a very legit spot, I think, there's a lot of coaches on tonight's slate who has something to prove, right? Mike Gundy in that game against UT Martin. They lost their last 9 games to end that season last year. Did not win a single game in the Big 12, right? There's different coaches who have stuff to prove, but Duke spent so much money on Darian Mensah. And last year you opened with Elon, you only scored 10 first half points. I think that needs to be pedal to the metal, let it ride. I think they could score 21 in the first quarter. I think they're up big at the break. Manny Diaz's defense will handle the rest. I'm laying 20.5 in the first half with Duke against Elon. 2 other plays. Wisconsin, Miami, over 40.5. I was going to bet under in this game. I was like, I'm looking at this. I'm like, listen, we know Wisconsin can, play defense. They're going to be run first. This, that, and the 40.5 was not the total that I was expecting here. At the end of the day, Wisconsin is getting back to the identity of ground and pound. But they're not trying to win games 7-0. You still want to be explosive and efficient in the run game. I understand they moved off of Phil Longo, but again, this team is not going to not try and score touchdowns. And typically Chuck Martin, the head coach from Miami of Ohio, who does a nice job, gets routed in these games. The Badgers could legitimately score 40 in this contest. Billy Edwards, the Maryland transfer, takes over at quarterback here. And Miami of Ohio's calling card this season, many believe, could be the quarterback position. DeQuan Finn, the Toledo transfer, who stays in the MAC and comes over to Miami of Ohio, went to multiple MAC championships here. And DeQuan Finn has plenty of reps under his belt against power competition. This is a guy who actually showed pretty nicely against the C.J. Stroud Ohio State team, was a part of a victory against the Texas Tech group last year. He appeared in that game. I think he ended up leaving injured, but the point still stands. Give me the over 40.5. The last one, so hold your nose special. We're going to take the 39.5 with Central Arkansas against Missouri. Eli Drinkovich, the head coach of Missouri, they typically do not route rock and roll in these games. Last year, we saw that a little bit more due to an excellent defensive start. Through the first 2 games, one against Murray State and one actually against Buffalo, they were up 89-0. They did not allow a score in either one of those games. I think you can see Central Arkansas score a touchdown in this game, and I think that's about all they need. Caleb Coger, who started about half of the season for Central Arkansas, or a couple of games for Central Arkansas, will start tonight, very likely, I believe, for Central Arkansas in this spot. And Mizzou with a quarterback battle, I do not view as a big positive. That was kind of a selling point for UNLV, the quarterback battle. There's going to be a lot there. It didn't play out that way, obviously, for UNLV. For Mizzou, with Bo Pribula and Sam Horn going back and forth for this, they may struggle to find consistency, okay? Whew. Oh, we're going to get to that. They might struggle to find consistency, and I think this game is an under something like 38-7. Could very well be your final score. That's covering the 39.5. Update, Byron Brown's into the end zone. South Florida takes the lead. The type of run you just love. My, oh, my. I mean, it's a little silly. He had an open shot to the end zone. He made sure to run headfirst into a Bronco linebacker. Makes a statement. This game is 9-7, an extra point away from being 10-7, which is up and good. I will tell people this. I did not get involved in this game. I didn't feel like I had a great side in this game. I lean South Florida, but the important thing to me is South Florida is one of the most important teams in the group of 5 this year because they touch a lot of the important contenders. So South Florida plays in the American, who I would say, I think it's 5 of like the top 8 teams with odds to make the college football playoff at the G5 level are in the American. South Florida is incredibly live to win the American. South Florida, in their first 3 games, played number 25 Boise, 15 Florida on the road, and 10 Miami on the road. If we see South Florida beat Boise, that'll hang over Boise State's head all year. If they get rocked by Florida and Miami, which is absolutely on the board, that will downgrade what people think of the Bulls, and then South Florida could win the American. And that's another reason why I am on liberty to make the college football playoff. South Florida, to some degree, could almost wipe out Boise plus the rest of the American if their results against Florida and Miami look pretty ugly. This could end up being an 8-4 South Florida team, 9-3 South Florida team who wins the American and does not actually have a legitimate chance to make the college football playoff. That is where things sit here. We're going to get to Micah Parsons within this next segment, okay? So we might as well then quickly just stop over on the other slates that you have tonight. We're going to talk plenty of Micah Parsons tonight. Appreciate you sticking with us, but I know a lot of you tune in to lock in and get your bets on the board, so we wanted to make sure that we started there. Phillies Braves is underway. Aaron Nola's got the baseball. Slightly an over, but it was certainly an expensive total. That number checked in at 9.5. We'll see how that looks there. We've got the Mets and the Marlins. The Metsies closed out the sweep against Philadelphia. That's a 4-game gap now within the division. So the Mets have certainly made that a race. And the Reds were swept for the first time. Dodgers finally did it to Cincinnati. So the Mets created some separation in the NL wildcard race here. Mets, huge favorites against Miami in this spot. The game that spoke to me the most was actually the Yankees road trip to Chicago against the White Sox here. Will Warren in a bit of a bounce-back spot. I think you could sell Davis Martin. Wind blowing out, though, in this baseball game. I think Aaron Judge is live for a home run, and we opted to do a little Thirsty Thursday. Who's looking for some juice here? We put some big-time parlays together for the people. Give me Aaron Judge for a home run. Give Casino Chris Dane Key anytime touchdown. How about Yarnese with the Victor Snow anytime touchdown? Takes the big piece of this pie. Pat with a stomach settler, if you will, at least in comparison, takes the 12 with the Chicago Sky against the Phoenix Mercury. I think it's possible the Sky could be covering machines against the better teams in the W. Quick break. When we get back, the Micah Parsons trade fallout for you on Game Time Decision.
Time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now, it's 18-17. They're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Spartans. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay.
I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer, a stunning trade ultimately in the NFL. And I firstly start with a salute to Parsons and to some degree the Cowboys and the Packers, because we saw trade requests actually matter in the NFL. I got to tell you, the Parsons one did feel a bit different, than the Terry McLaurin trade request and even maybe the Trey Hendrickson trade request. Because it felt like Parsons was like, I'm not actually ever going to get to this point. And once he said it, he meant it. And clearly he did. There's so much here. The most important thing off the top is what this does to the Green Bay Packers. This is a football team that is now And some people thought this was the case already, but it is now the case big time with very real Super Bowl expectations. There are only 4 teams in the market with shorter odds to win the Super Bowl than Green Bay: Baltimore, Buffalo, Philly, Kansas City. It is the defending Super Bowl champions. It's the multi-time Super Bowl dynasty in KC, and Buffalo and Baltimore, who are, of course, always right here up at the top in the mix with their quarterbacks in Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Green Bay now the next team up. And for the Packers, that move is not an overreaction. Micah Parsons is that good. And Parsons now gives this team a feeling a little bit that they maybe have a star at all 3 levels, which is what you love if you could for a defense. With, of course, Parsons being the star up front. Could Edgerrin Cooper be the star in the middle at linebacker? And then you have Xavier McKinney, a turnover machine as a safety who is always ball hawking, always dangerous, the former New York Giant. And now this Packers defense feels complete. Now, if you want to bet on Jordan Love upside, because, by the way, Jordan Love is not a complete prospect, okay? I understand Jordan Love went on a heater 2 seasons ago and it resulted in a win at Dallas, and they certainly put the Niners on upset alert in the postseason. Jordan Love last year had a turnover problem, and boy, oh boy, did he get a pass for his atrocious performance in Philadelphia. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a team that only scored 10 points against the Birds in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. But now you can bet on Jordan Love upside a little bit more because the Packers defense has an opportunity to be elite. And that is why this team now, when it talk about conference odds, it's only Philadelphia in front of them. They jumped Detroit. They jumped the Niners. They jumped the Rams. And it makes sense. It's not an overreaction. I was expecting Green Bay out of the playoffs. We were going to do Kevin 7 next Tuesday, 7 from the NFC, 7 from the AFC. Green Bay was not going to appear. I have to recalibrate that now. Micah Parsons is that impactful. And that's why this has only shortened the number for Micah Parsons to win Defensive Player of the Year. Micah Parsons was already the favorite. But now, for Micah Parsons, you have the ability to not just rack up 15 sacks, right? If Green Bay wins at a high level, if Green Bay's defense performs at a top 6, 7 rate, Parsons will get so much credit. It's interesting to see Hutchinson right behind Parsons because it'll be a similar case of how Detroit's defense fell apart. If Detroit's defense can meet a new level, Hutch is going to get a ton of credit in the market. Parsons is the rightful favorite. I don't think I'll bet him as the favorite, but I don't blame anyone who does. For Green Bay, it is a huge day. It is an odds-changing day. Heck, they're up to 2.5, and they may close as field goal favorites week number 1 against Detroit. For the Dallas side, this team is now trying to hit the reset button while having one of the highest-paid players in football in Dak Prescott. They're up to a 7.5-point underdog week number 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think that this is a football team who, even if they paid Micah Parsons, was going to make enough noise. But maybe now, I think they may have just the worst defense in the entire National Football League. I think Dan Quinn coached up that secondary. They were turnover machines. I don't buy Mr. Pick 6 to Ron Bland or Trevon Diggs, both coming off of injury, by the way. Not expected to be super healthy. Dallas can cover some numbers. That's 7.5. It looks tempting to me. Most of the biased man history of sports media. But this is a team who could easily now finish in the cellar of the NFC East. We'll get more from NFL insider Adam Kaplan next.
on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now at 18-17, they're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Sparks. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Game time decisions live here on a Thursday night. Quickly, with some of these off the board, we remind you the college football card. Jacksonville State plus 20.5. Akron, Wyoming over 47.5. We're not far away from the start of Central Arkansas plus 39.5 against Missouri, and then Duke laying 20.5 in the first half against Elon. But today's news, I understand the college football world is important. We're focusing on it. But Micah Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy and is now a Green Bay Packer. And from time to time, we would check in with our guy, NFL insider Adam Kaplan. And Cap, listen, no shame in the game. I think we all were like, well, he's not going to get dealt. Well, here we are now. Micah Parsons dealt. What are some of the reactions that you've heard around this news?
Yeah, Kevin, whenever there's a big deal, particularly when it's surprising, I like to get reaction. Hey, what are your thoughts to personnel people through text? Call them if I have to. But basically, it's been this. Dallas probably did not get enough value because Green Bay now, who was clearly a top 6 team, 8 team in the National Football League, you the best pass rushers in the NFL, who probably will be a Hall of Famer someday. Micah Parsons is on that track. The thought around the league was, Kevin, so far from the people I've spoken with through text, probably not good enough value. I spoke to one executive from the NFC East who's very happy that he's out of the division, but he's staying in the conference to a team that will compete against Dallas to be a playoff team. So it's very odd. I want to bring you inside something, sort of an addendum to this situation. So in 2018, I called the Raiders a lot about Khalil Mack because Mack had not agreed to an extension. What's going to happen? The Raiders told me they're not trading him. Stop calling, stop asking. Then John Gruden got involved, sort of commandeered personnel. Then Mack got traded to the Bears. Now, the Raiders thought, and talking to them, they trade him to the right team. Bears won't be very good. Other conference. Well, the Bears made the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky as quarterback. Nobody saw it coming. But in this case, the Packers very well could get to the Super Bowl. And yes, the Cowboys are getting 2 first-round picks. But Kevin, those picks probably, if we put odds on it, are going to be between 26 and 32. That's not good enough value. And they got Kenny Clark's one of the best nose tackles in football. He turns 30 in 2 months. Why didn't they get a young emerging player? I just think Jerry Jones here, and we'll get into why this happened. It's very clear he wanted Micah Parsons off the football team. He had enough, the acrimony, all the problems. But on your assessment at the top here, the reason why most people around the league didn't think this would happen is you just don't trade a future Hall of Fame player, but they did it.
They did, and it is stunning, and it gives Green Bay a lot of the juice. We've seen the movement. They now sit with top 5 odds to win a Super Bowl. You know, Cap, and I'm sure you hear rumblings. Twitter now is full with, you know, faceless reporters who are like, we're hearing something, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong.
Yeah.
What is the reaction in Green Bay? I mean, now this team, it's not just make the playoffs. It's a tough division, but the expectations are much bigger.
Yeah, Brian Gutekunst, he's way more aggressive than his old boss, Ted Thompson. Ted was a great GM, by the way, but Ted was old school. We build with our own players. We don't make trades other than the Charles Woodson move. They typically just drafted and developed. And Gutekunst does it a variety of ways. He's more the old-fashioned way, but every once in a while he does something that's aggressive. But this is for their front office. This to me is a game changer. When you're doing this, you're going for it. Now, I don't agree with your assessment. I was listening to you before I got on here. I had them in the playoffs. I did. No question the Packers were a playoff team. But the one issue that they had, quite frankly, was their pass rush. Nice secondary, not great. Good front. They just traded Kenny Clark. Exceptional at linebacker, okay? Very talented offense. They reshaped their receiver core. They've redone their offensive line. But what had happened is Lucas Van Ness was a first-rounder. You might remember he was a defensive lineman coming out of Iowa. He was drafted for a 34 front. Well, 2 years ago, they changed it. Van Ness, they don't really have a home for him. And they need to find pass rushers, and they just did. That's why the markets have moved. If I happen to look at a couple of the books an hour before the trade, just because I had a feeling that I got to now dismiss that this couldn't happen and look at the chances of it potentially happening over the next week. And it happened today. Kevin, depending on what book you looked at, the Packers were ranked between 10 and 12 to win the Super Bowl. They're top 4. They're top 4 right now, or 3 in some books. One player, Kevin, has moved the markets.
And he's the Defensive Player of the Year favorite. So obviously, you know, we know what the books believe and what the league believes of Micah Parsons. For the Dallas Cowboys, though, Cap, when you make a move like this, you talk about the Raiders, right? At the time that they made that trade, they weren't also rostering, one of the highest paid quarterbacks in football. What now for Dallas, right? I mean, I don't think this is a team who can necessarily tell their fan base we're bottoming out. Obviously, you hear I'm lower on them plus higher on the Giants. It's a whole, another bag of things. I think the defense is comfortably one of the 5 worst defenses in the league, Cap.
Well, here's the problem now. So you trade Parsons. Now they have a bunch of young pass rushers. Marshawn Nealon, Azaraku, their second-round pick out of BC, who I was very high on. Sam Williams was a second-rounder in 22. And Dante Fowler's a veteran. Like, that's not a bad group, but they don't have an A-level pass rusher. They don't have a game changer. Micah Parsons, Kevin, was a game changer. They don't have that guy. They're not really good at corner, really good at safety, really good up the middle, particularly at D-tackle. Osa Digizua is a really good interior defensive lineman. He'll team with Kenny Clark. But, again, outside pass rush, not existent. Not good enough. Just okay. Not good enough. Cornerback group, not good enough. I'm with you. This severely depletes them. And they're going to have to wait. They're going to have to wait to get those type of pass rushers. And if it goes like I think it'll go for the Packers and they're going to be a top 4 team this season, again, if you look at the next 2 drafts, where are you getting an A-level pass rusher 28 to 32? Good luck. Good luck to the Cowboys.
And here's the thing. Look, Green Bay can fail to meet expectations just like LaFleur did all the time with MVP Aaron Rodgers, but the picks still project to be within the 20s. The idea, though, for Dallas is they now are going to have a number of draft assets, but typically, Cap, we hear that tied to teams who maybe want to move up for quarterback, right? Think about the LA Rams, where they might want to move up because we don't know how much longer Stafford is going to play. The Cleveland Browns, who traded out of having Travis Hunter because they want quarterback here. Dallas is supposed to have their franchise guys, so it is such an unsettling thing. I guess the only other question on this Micah Parsons thing is he was apparently going for a second opinion on a back today. Do we think that has now been magically cured?
Let's put it this way. His first was clean. No structural damage, nothing with his back. It is true he was going to go for a second opinion. You add that and Micah being on that table, just lying there and denying that they had an agreement in last March with Jerry Jones, the owner and general manager. You add all that up, and as one former coach for the Cowboys told me tonight, when Jerry thinks he's losing the battle, sometimes he does stuff irrational. To me, this is an irrational move. It's my job to call it down the middle as a reporter and putting my analyst hat on. They didn't get good enough value. Everyone I've talked to said the same thing. You got to get more than that. You got to get a much younger player. Kenny Clark is a good player. Don't get me wrong. But you got to get a young emerging star. They didn't do well.
Before we let you go, Cap, because I know that this doesn't impact the market, but the amount of money that Green Bay gave Dallas, did that surprise you at all?
I'm sorry?
The amount of money that they gave Micah, Green Bay.
47 APY. It's a well above market, but remember, he's much younger than TJ Watt. We have to remember.
That's true. Cap, great stuff as always. We'll be right back. Game Time Decisions.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Zip! Akron, big play needed after Wyoming had a punt actually in Akron territory, which was a little frustrating, but it's a welcome back to the college football world. Some updates quickly, just Major League Baseball-wise. It is 3-3, still in the first inning of Phillies Braves. So that high total, not high enough. Mets Marlins is just getting underway. We're also just beginning the game between the Liberty and the Mystics. I had a slight lean to the Liberty. Again, did not get in the mix because Washington can be scrappy, and the Liberty, still a very banged-up group. They're missing 3 starters tonight in Enescu, Jonquel Jones, and Natasha Cloud. We'll see what Stewie brings, but she's probably still not going to be playing a full, typical allotment of minutes here, all in all. There's a number of games that we could update for you at the College Football Board, but the most important game right now just went to half, and that is South Florida, Boise State. A 10-7 lead for the unranked home Bulls, who in this game have now been opportunistic. Catch that. Wow! Oh, my goodness. Come on, kid. That's a 25, 35-yard gain. It's all right, zip. We're rooting it in, people. We're rooting it in. Boise State has turned the football over in this game twice, and that fumbles. That has been the difference here within this game. Byron Brown's getting a little bit more comfortable on the ground as the game goes on, and that's where South Florida is going to look to make their hay. They've had a couple of explosive plays in the passing game, a couple of 37-yard completions here. You have a Boise State team that is not just clearly, they're finding their rhythm. The thing is, this is such a low-scoring start to a game that had a big-time total pre-game. This was a total in the mid-60s, low 60s, that is now 44.5. Money line is essentially pick and shade South Florida. It's minus 115 South Florida, minus 108 on the Boise side here. You're at 17 points, so 44.5. You need 28 to cash. 2 touchdowns each way. I don't hate it, just based on what the pregame expectations were. I'm not mad at that. I'll play a live over in the South Florida Boise State game. Maybe we'll do that here and root it on. It's 24-14 Rutgers. They're up on Ohio. Cadillac Mattis with 2 touchdowns right now. The Rutgers QB. Bowling Green up 10-0 on Lafayette. NC State might have to settle for a field goal here against East Carolina. We are 2 drives into Akron, Wyoming. No points. Both teams have actually had some decent plays. They've pushed the football, but just not able to close and execute here. Ugly first drive for UCF, which makes you feel as good as you can 1 drive into a game, which is where we are at for Jacksonville State. There's a couple of key spots that we didn't hit, which specifically, though, the Oklahoma State-UT Martin game here. I understand Oklahoma State, playing an FCS team is not going to, become it's not going to be a main event. But this is a fascinating game. To, take you back to last year, Oklahoma State were one of the kings in terms of returning production, most notably Ollie Gordon. And I was all the way in on Oklahoma State. I thought that they had a great chance to win the Big 12, and even if they didn't, I thought their record could be good enough to win the college football playoff. And the season that Ashton Genty had is the exact season I expected Ollie Gordon to have. Ollie Gordon in 2023 had 1,700 yards on the ground, 21 rushing touchdowns, and there was and that was, by the way, it was essentially not even a full season, okay? Because Ollie Gordon, through the first 3 games of the season, only had 19 carries combined. But they flipped the switch. They turned it up. He had a 3-game window where he went for 168, 282, and 271 with 7 rushing touchdowns and 8 total touchdowns in that window. I mean, it was incredible stuff from Ollie Gordon. If it wasn't for a down nightmare game against actually UCF, which I remember it well, anybody who watched college football today might, because I thought UCF was the worst rush defense in the Big 12. I thought Ollie Gordon was going to have like a 300-yard day. His overs were like in the 140s, thought it was still too light. He finished with 25 in the game. The point was, Ollie Gordon had all of this. This Oklahoma State team had all of this. And not only, did they have an underwhelming season. No. They lost every single Big 12 game they played. Every single one of them. They went 3-9, 9 straight games, the worst season Gundy's had. So now you turn the clock to this season here, and there's a lot of people lost. There's a lot of questions. And if Gundy does not flip this around, he could very well be coaching his final season. At his age, who knows? It could be his last season as a head coach. I don't know. Maybe he'll find a job. Maybe he won't. It depends what he wants, right? The game tonight against UT Martin is one of the bigger movers on this slate. This number overnight was 20.5. We're up to 26.5 now as that primary number. I was slightly hoping this thing would just get up to 28, because at that point, I would just grab the points here with UT Martin and let it be what it is. I understand the idea that Gundy could look to make a statement. I am already interested in betting Oklahoma State week 2 on the road against Oregon, because that is where you actually make a statement. And you guys know I like Oregon this year. I think they can win the Big Ten. They're comfortably in my college football playoff picture. But if Gundy is actually going to right this ship, you can keep things vanilla tonight against UT Martin, and you can go and make a statement, even if you just hang with Oregon, that things might be different this season for the Cowboys. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, though, as always, at this time on a Thursday, we turn our attention to the world of soccer. What kind of upsets could we see this week? I doubt we see any as big as what happened to Manchester United. My goodness. For those who follow, Ruben Amorim, it's now or never this weekend against Burnley. I'll just tell you that for anybody who follows the Premier League. But you don't have to take my word for it. Our guy Marcelino is going to help us out with everything that you need to know heading into, as always, a very fun weekend on the soccer slate. That is up next. We'll continue to keep you plugged into everything happening on the college football board as well. It's Game Time Decisions. We're live on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now at 18-17, they're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Spartans. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
All right, back here on SportsGrid, it is Game Time Decisions. We're now joined by Marcelino Ortiz, who always helps us get ready for a busy weekend in the soccer world. Marcelino, how are you?
How are you guys? Greetings here from the headquarters at Latin Nation Football Club. We bring you an excellent show every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on SportsGrid. Thank you for having me. We have such an amazing weekend of soccer. We have big games, Miami versus Seattle in the final of the Leagues Cup. We have a big marquee game for MLS. We have LAFC versus the top team in the league, San Diego. Also, a team, it's their first year in competition, and Champions League is back. In Europe, a lot of excitement, and also some big upsets that we were talking just right before coming onto the air. Thank you. Ready to go.
Yeah, there were some wild ones this week in the soccer world. We'll see what the weekend could hold. Marcelino, tell us a little bit about what you're expecting with Miami and Seattle. Messi back and making an impact. More of the same?
Without a doubt. We were just talking last week how important this game was for Miami, and they delivered. Like I predicted, Messi was a factor, and Miami took the victory. I think that this will continue to be the trend. In front of them will be Seattle. Seattle is a very, very good team. They're playing in a really good level, but leading them, there is this one player, number 10, Pedro de la Vega. If you like betting on individual players, that is the guy. He will score. He came out in their semifinal against Galaxy. He came out swinging. He probably will win the award as the best goal scorer in the league, in the tournament, because he scored a banger from quite outside the big box. So it won't be easy for Miami. They will have a big competition, and I foresee this being a high-scoring game because both teams are open and both teams are not afraid to send numbers up front. My fear is that Miami's defensive line won't be able to contain a better organized team like Seattle. So the odd makers will always be with Miami, but I see a big possibility for upset from Seattle.
Yeah, it's going to be a really close one potentially between those two clubs. What about LAFC and San Diego FC? We saw Son finally get on the board with an incredible free kick goal in their most recent matchup for LAFC. What do we see here going against San Diego?
I think that we will continue the trend. I think that LAFC will come out and show in their stadium. The people will come out. They are happy to see their brand new star Son play in the BMO Stadium for the first time. I foresee this being a boost for the team. The odds right now are clearly favoring LAFC because of the local condition, because of the excitement of Son playing for the first time. But if you're savvy about your betting, you will go with San Diego this time because San Diego is the most surprising team right now. They are playing better than anyone, first place in the Western Conference, and the attacking third is crazy. Dyers is playing at an MVP season level. Chucky Lozano can score on you at any moment. So I will go with the over on goals. And again, one of my favorite bets that is very underutilized is the corners. The over on corners will make you money because these two teams, again, will come out to win and put a show at BMO Stadium this upcoming Sunday.
Here with Marcelino Ortiz talking over all the biggest games in the soccer world. But when this tournament begins, arguably nothing bigger. That is, of course, Champions League. We got the draw, Marcelino. PSG, this past summer, win this tournament here. One of the top favorites along with Barcelona and Liverpool. What caught your eye from the draw?
Without a doubt, winning on the margins, my friend, this is how it's done. Barcelona has an edge. They have the easiest path in the league section of this tournament. They will play 2 hard games and then 6 relatively easy games. Compare that to Real Madrid that has Liverpool, Benfica, powerhouses against them, Manchester City. They will have a very difficult schedule. These games add up. Let's remember these games are played both at home and as visitors. So playing 2 times against top teams will get you tired, something that Barcelona might not experience. So I'm thinking that Barcelona clearly has an edge. Right now, if I would put in money, I would have only 2 teams in my roster. That's Barcelona and Chelsea. Chelsea, they are stacked. Chelsea will be the surprise of Champions League. They are going to be focusing on this tournament, and they have the players to do so.
Chelsea are right now outside of the top 5 odds to win the Champions League, so some potentially great value there as we look down the board. Marcelino, we appreciate it as always.
Thank you so much for having me. And remember, every Friday right here on Latin Nation Football Club, we'll get you up to date so you know how to win on the margins on soccer, football, calcio, whatever you call it. We have it here on Latin Nation Football Club. Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, great stuff as always from Marcelino Ortiz. We will update you on the college football board next.
on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now at 18-17, they're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Sparks. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
Would you rather be other than right here on the GameTime decision desk figuring out why Wyoming is playing 80 years behind its time? Listen, a punt on 4th and 11 from the Akron 37 is kind of expected, right? A punt from 4th and 2 on the Akron 42, not so much. That's called losing football. That's letting your AD know, hey, listen, you're going to be firing me from 2 to 3 years from now. That's what I'm seeing. I don't like it. I need a break. So we bring in some help. That's Andrew Kelly from Covers. Does an excellent job covering everything the board has to offer. Andrew, how's the college football world treating you so far?
It's been fun. We're just a few games in, but hey, I got on Akron plus 3.5, so we can still let Wyoming play that old school football. You know, they're not analytic starlings right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. Listen, I have the over, so Akron can do all the scoring. Someone needs to figure out, how to actually connect on one of these explosive plays because they're all there right in front of them. If I'm not mistaken, Andrew, though, you are involved with a game that is going off of the board right now as well between a couple of rivals at NC State, East Carolina. Just curious what the cap was for you there and what jumped out.
Oh, Caton Hauser, which is what jumps out to me quite a bit. Having him back is a big deal for the Purple Pirates. He's a gunslinger, and I was jumping on the over on his passing yards prop. 236.5, but I actually went a little crazier. I laddered his plus 250 alt line, plus 275, and plus 300 was plus 300. So I'm looking for a big night from Caton here against an NC State team. Yeah, they're going to be a little angry after losing that bowl game, but new DC, a lot of new guys on that defensive, especially the secondary. Like I believe they have 4 transfers in the secondary. So I think Hauser could really sling at this one. He averaged over 300 yards per game during that 6-start stretch when he first took over the Pirates offense there last year. So he throws it. If you want to go crazy, he's going to throw some picks too because he just slings it and he has turnovers every now and then. Get a nice negative correlation parlay there. Go take him to have a bunch of yards and interceptions. But yeah, it was all about Hauser for me in this one.
What about in probably the biggest game on this Thursday slate, which is the battle between Nebraska and Cincinnati? It's taking place at Arrowhead where the Kansas City Chiefs play, so you really have a neutral site game here. Nebraska favored by 6.5. There's total in the low 50s. Has anything stood out to you for this one?
It was 7 very briefly, and I jumped on Cincinnati at that +7. This is another team, kind of like we just talked about with North Carolina State there. They have a new DC, and they have a bunch of transfers on their defense. Particularly, they have to replace those 2 stud defensive tackles, and they have 4 new starters in the secondary. And we can talk about this more. Like, those transfers, either you turn out like Mississippi, who has managed the transfer portal very well in the first few years of this NIL and this transfer portal era, or you look like Florida State last year and you win 2 games, and it can be an absolute disaster. Gelling, there is an opportunity for bettors early in seasons with these teams that are transfer heavy, and I think this is one of those situations. I think Nebraska is the overall more talented team. If you force me to pick someone to win the game, I'll take Nebraska, but I'll take the 6.5 points with a Cincinnati team that I think is better than most people realize. Really experienced, 18 starters returning, including their quarterback Brendan Sorsby, who is a dual threat guy. They also went out and got a good running back to replace their starter last year, who had over 1,000 yards. So they're going to be more balanced and more experienced than people kind of realize, and they're going to keep this one close. And it's a fun one, right? Like, you got Mini Mahomes there in Kansas City. We've also got the Travis Kelce angle there too, like at Cincinnati. So hopefully Kelce just flew in all of his alma mater in there to cheer on Cincinnati and give us a little more push for that 6.5.
When you put your eye towards the weekend, Andrew, Ohio State, Texas is, of course, where everyone's eye is drawn. Is this a game you're starting to maybe find an edge on or feel strongly about?
I felt strongly about it in May when the odds hit the board, and you could get Texas at +3.5. So I have that. I've been having that sitting in my bankroll for a few months now, and I've even bet them on the money line as much as +120. I think I would still bet them as long as you can get them at better than even money. I think that's the side here. Just more question marks for me when it comes to Ohio State. I know they're at home, and I know that's a big advantage at the Horseshoe, but they have question marks at quarterback as even more than I would say that Texas does. We know that Arch is at least a good athlete, and if he's good, this defense for Texas is one of those ones that can be a difference maker this year. I think Sarkisian can lean on that defense. On top of that, I think Arch stayed at Texas because he wanted to be a part of this offense. He wanted to be a part of a Sark offense. He could have gone somewhere really quickly when it looked like Quinn Ewers was going to keep that job for 2 years ahead of him. But no, he stayed there. He's studying the system. He knows what it's about. I think we're going to see some good stuff from him here. A line I do like is him to score an anytime touchdown. Ohio State still has a good defense, but that defensive line loses a lot of talent. They're not going to have the same pressure. Their strength is at the back end for Ohio State. So I can see him scrambling out and maybe scoring a touchdown. You get that at 2-1. Really like that. And I also like James People under 52.5 rushing yards. The Ohio State is missing a lot of talent in that backfield this year, obviously, with no Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Peoples just isn't at that same level. And I like under 52.5 rushing yards for him as well. I would lean towards the under. I think the defenses are going to be what speak here loudest in this game.
And even for James People, I'm not sure he's better than C.J. Donaldson. So
100%. I forgot. I'm glad you brought up C.J. Donaldson. I think by the end of the year, he's going to be the Ohio State running back we're betting in a player prop way.
Just, right, because I know last year, they had the two-man, Judkins, Henderson. First of all, those are two backs who are better than both of these backs. I think Ohio State was certainly better last year than they're going to be this year. So it's you have more freedom to rotate backs. I don't know if Ohio State's going to be able to, 50-50 the room. So I agree with you on that. Andrew, before we let you get out of here, just, Clemson-LSU is a really important game. For Clemson, they can afford the loss more than LSU despite being at home. But LSU and under Brian Kelly, they can't get off the floor in week 1. You give them credit for scheduling tough games. It's just you then follow this up by entering an SEC schedule where you're going to have less wiggle room. Are you liking anything yet in this one?
I laid with Clemson -3.5. The big thing for me, I think the key to this football game is, hey, these are two teams with quarterbacks who are Heisman favorites in Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik. I just think that Klubnik will have more time in the pocket, more time to play make. His offensive line is better than LSU's offensive line, and that defensive line for Clemson is full of NFL talent with TJ Parker and Pete Woods. Mm-hmm. They're going to create pressure. They're going to create pressure up the middle. They're going to make life tough on Nussmeier here, and I think that is the difference. Klubnik will have more to create and make plays downfield, and he got so much better throughout the season last year especially when it comes to touch on his deep ball. And what LSU is going to have to do to try to contain Klubnik is to blitz him. And I think he's going to be able to take advantage of that and hit them down the field. Plus, you throw in the fact that they're at home, and I like Clemson in the spot.
I think for anyone with a Clemson future, Klubnik has to perform well in this game because he had a little bit of the Drew Aller of best opponents. I'm a completely different guy. I thought he showed enough in the SMU game and somewhat of the, I think the Texas game, it was a little overhyped, but he showed enough. I trust Klubnik more than Aller, and I think this team has a legitimate chance to get back to the mountaintop. You know, again, Dabo has brought some of it on himself, but this is a national championship winning head coach. This is a guy who's made these deep runs before with multiple quarterbacks. Klubnik was really supposed to be, I guess DJU first, but Klubnik then was supposed to be this next guy. We'll see if he can deliver on all of that hype. Andrew, we appreciate it as always, man.
Thanks for having me. Clemson's my national championship pick as well, so we're riding together on that one.
There we go. All right, big Clemson season. We'll see how it all plays out here. We're going to take a quick commercial break, though. On SportsGrid, we'll update you on this live college football board and get you ready for the remaining portions of this college football slate. It's Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now at 18-17, they're one game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Spartans. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
All right, back right here on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions with you here on a Thursday night. We will update this college football board in just a little bit, but we need to circle back to, I believe, one of the most important stories in recent NFL memory, which is Micah Parsons being traded to the Green Bay Packers. And when you go to the odds board, okay, you see all of the shift for Green Bay. And, Cap and I disagree. That's fine. About whether they were or weren't going to make the playoffs prior to the trade. It's irrelevant now. They've made the trade. When you go through the Green Bay schedule, there's rest early for this team. They have their bye week and a mini bye, by the way, actually, in the early portions of this schedule. The Green Bay Packers' first 4 games are home against Detroit, a Thursday night game against Washington. They're going to go to Cleveland, okay? And then go to Dallas. Here's the reality of these games. Green Bay is going to be favored now in all 4 of those football games. It's the type of schedule that if you were in on the Packers, you were likely 3-1, if not better, prior to the Parsons trade, right? If you're in on the Packers now, you're legitimately thinking, okay, this team can start 4-0. This team absolutely can come out of the gates red hot. These are good schedule spots. You're opening at home against Detroit. You're getting a Thursday night game in your building against Washington. It's a mini-bye to go play Cleveland. Just now, the level of the game against Dallas, that is a legitimate potential 4-0 window. And bring right into it, you host Cincinnati off a bye. Rest advantage in your building. Green Bay really should be 4-1 to start their season. I think anything less would feel like a disappointment. They will be booked as favorites in all 5 of those football games. The next 4 games, a little trickier. They'll go to Arizona and Pittsburgh for road games back-to-back. You host Carolina, and it's a Monday night game against Philadelphia in your building. Now, Philly is going to be coming off of their bye. I don't know if you're booked as a favorite at home against Philly, but that's the first spot, I think, on this schedule. It looks like the Green Bay Packers are going to be booked as underdogs now. If this team goes 2-2 in those 4 games, and I know everyone's going to 2-2, they're beating Arizona, they're beating Pittsburgh. That's not exactly how this stuff all works. But even so, if they go 2-2 in those games, they've set themselves up now through their first 9, 7-2, or 6-3. You're pretty happy with that. You're pretty happy with 6-3. Take the next 4 games. Trip to the Giants. You're going to host Minnesota. You go to Detroit for Thanksgiving, and then a mini-bye before hosting the Chicago Bears. Should not be worse than 2-2. Upside for more. Depends where you land on the New York Giants. It's a shorter week on the road. Depends probably where you land on Minnesota, Detroit. But again, if you call that 2-2, this team's up to 8-5. Here are your final 4 games. At Denver, at the Bears, Baltimore in your building, at Minnesota. That is a tough final stretch of games for the Green Bay Packers. But if you are in on Green Bay, if you are in on the Packers now with the addition of Micah Parsons, you will probably still get to a portion of the calendar or of the stretch like this and think to yourself, okay, we're winning multiple games here. But if you feel like I've been fair, where I started this team out 4-1 and then feel like you have 2-2 pockets throughout, that's a 10-win football team. That's a 10-7 football team, right? Upside for more. I'm not saying there's not. Well, the Green Bay win total now, finishing 10-7, is that good enough? The win total's 10.5. Minus 120 towards the under. So the books have not gone crazy with a win total. Win totals also, it's 11.5 typically at the highest. 12.5s are all plus towards the over. For Green Bay, is 10-7. Again, is that the right spot? I think that this team has swing games on this schedule. Week 1 against Detroit, you have to get that game. Home against Philadelphia on a Monday night. That's a really important game. The setup with the Bears, right? Can they take the Bears and Vikings games? And are people projecting 2-2, 3-1? I will not hear a 4-0 case. That's outrageous. This is a Packers team last year who had 2 victories against playoff teams and it was by a combined 7 points. One against the Texans and one against the Rams. Rams before they turned the corner, and a slight win against the Houston Texans team who was banged up at the time. They lost both games to Philly, both to Detroit, both to Minnesota. They did not beat the best of the bunch, Green Bay. But the notion will be they have the chance to be another year better. Jordan Love, another year as their starting quarterback. That wide receiver room continues to get more experience, and you enter the highest upside guy in the room now with Matthew Golden. With the new numbers for Green Bay, there's no way I get to this team as a Super Bowl pick. There's no way. Will I shift them into the postseason? In this moment, I think yes, I do. Who comes out, though? You guys don't know who my 7 teams are. I do. Right? Who are you shifting out? Becomes tricky. I'm not running to these Green Bay futures, though. I've thought about it. They've moved so much. For a team who still has aspects of them I don't fully believe in. And I talked about this last year, how Matt LaFleur has been given a lot of grace for what has ultimately been pretty underwhelming postseason exits outside of 2 seasons ago with Jordan Love. That year, 7 seed, beat Dallas on the road, hang with the Niners on the road. That was great. What was the excuse last year against the Philadelphia Eagles for the offense no show in the game? What was the excuse to multiple seasons with MVP Aaron Rodgers for being eliminated in your own building? So this is to me a team who, in terms of the Green Bay Packers, now should certainly make the playoffs, but we'll see if that is how it ultimately finishes. We are running up against a commercial break here. When we do get back, we are going to give you all of the live updates. We're going to give you the updates around South Florida, Boise State, as upset alert is full on. Will anyone ever score in Akron, Wyoming? Probably not. And what is the remainder of tonight's card here on this Thursday night? We'll be right back.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If the Golden State Valkyries make the playoffs, and right now at 18-17, they're 1 game ahead of the loss column versus Seattle and the Spartans. If they make the playoffs, you must, and I mean must, give their coach head coach of the year in the WNBA.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
And let me tell you, Gabe, very similar to the Bills and the way they lose to the Chiefs with that play. It took Canadian Nick Taylor to hit a 90-foot bomb to win the Canadian Open. So let's talk about the heartbreaking fashion. It's not like Tommy Fleetwood. Sure, he's given a few away, but he's also had many stolen from him in miraculous, crazy fashion.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid. This is the moment every fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes on every camp and data feeding 24/7, breaking down every angle across the league. Every pick, every edge, every line that matters. SportsGrid. Your road to kickoff starts now.
All right, let's update your live board before we get out of here. Reset where the college football card stands as well. Quickly, baseball. Yanks make it a Yerfie. A lot of runs early in these baseball games here. Yanks up 2-0 off a Cody Bellinger home run. The Phillies, after the game was 3-3. Actually, after it was 3-0 Atlanta, it's now 6-3 Philadelphia. Bryce Harper's homered. Kepler's homered. Realmuto's homered. Schwarber's homered. Why isn't it Dinger Tuesday? I mean, that would be nice. That would be nice. And it looks like there's more runs coming here for Philadelphia. Make it 7-3. Miami is now jumping all over Clay Holmes and the New York Mets as the Marlins inch closer, actually, towards their win total. They're going to put the Mets on upset alert here tonight. We'll see, though. A lot of game left for the Metsies to possibly bounce back. The WNBA board here, just quickly, it's a 6-point halftime lead for the New York Liberty, which would be good enough to cover any halftime spreads there. Leading the way for New York, really just a lot of different pieces. Johannes with 9, Harrison with 9 off the bench. Stewie only has the 1 point. They're missing 3 other starters, so it's pretty impressive there from the Liberty. Minnesota is going to lay 8.5 tonight against Seattle, and it's a 12-point number for Phoenix against the Chicago Sky. In terms of your live college football board right now, full upset alert. South Florida up 17-7 in this game against Boise State. A 5.5-point live favorite. Total sits now 45.5. Life without Ashton Genty, not so fun. It was a fake punt pass, 45-yard touchdown for South Florida. So I don't want to act like the Bulls are slicing and dicing here, but Boise is sitting on 7 points, averaging 5.1 yards per pass attempt. There's been some sacks impacting this number, but still, you're at 2.6 yards per rush. Siri Gaines is actually at 5.1, who should be their lead ball carrier. You're probably, at some point need to wake up and realize no more Malik Sherrod, the Fresno State transfer, and give it to the explosive youngster in Gaines, but might be a hard lesson learned for South Florida in this game. Rutgers smashing Ohio. NC State up 7-0 on East Carolina. There's a weather delay, I believe, in UCF Jacksonville State. Missouri Central Arkansas is 6-0. I got an update that Central Arkansas threw a touchdown pass. I have no idea what happened. Don't know where that went. That's all right. That was fun while it lasted. They ended up punting. At least Missouri went for a 2-point conversion to start that game and didn't get it. So you'll take the small wins where you can. We're trying to find points in Wyoming, Akron. Both of these teams maybe, wasted the only explosive plays they had in their back pocket early. Duke missed a field goal on their opening drive, which is impossibly frustrating. They get the football back on the 5. We're going to need some explosive plays out of Darian Mensa to score quick to cover a big number here. Can't even catch a screen pass in this Wyoming game, which is awesome. And then you get a 7-0 Oklahoma State start in their game against UT Martin. Where else do we go on tonight's college football board? We go to Buffalo. Plus 17.5. They return a ton, and one of the most important guys they bring back is I.J. Henderson, the running back, who last season, as it went on, final 5 games, 18 for 107 and a score, 27 for 126 and a score, 25 for 86 and a score, with a 75-yard receiving touchdown in that game, 30 for 185 and a score, 21 for 119 and a touchdown. He was incredible. And if they can run the football against Minnesota, it allows the Golden Gophers, who just want to run the football themselves, to always stay within reach, and they cannot extend on a big-time 17.5 number. As the card gets later, we're going to play over the 40.5 in Wisconsin, Miami of Ohio. I think that's just way too low for Miami of Ohio team, who typically allows 40 points against power competition. Wisconsin will look to flash a new offense here. We'll see if they can do enough to get through this number. I almost lay the 19.5 with San Diego State against Stony Brook, but then I realized that game opened 12.5, and I'm just not laying a touchdown worse than the number. Missed out on it. It's a route spot for Sean Lewis in year number 2. We'll see how it closes. The big game on this board is Cincinnati and Nebraska, and I am rolling with the Cornhuskers on a neutral site. Dylan Raiola is basically playing a home game, a.k.a. Mahomes mini-me here. The secondary for Nebraska will make life tough on Sorsby. We could see multiple turnovers from Cincinnati, and Nebraska, I believe, will be ready to capitalize and handle business. Great college football slate tomorrow. It's not just ranked Illinois in action, but it's Colorado and Deion Sanders in the mix against Georgia Tech, one of the top teams potentially in the ACC, and a monster game between Auburn and Baylor, 2 sleeper college football playoff teams. One starts 0-1. We'll break those down tomorrow. Up next, it's In Game Live here on SportsGrid.
fan waits for. The countdown's over. The road to kickoff has begun.
Play is here to stay. I'm not going to name names, Kevin.
From win totals to player props, from division races to MVP debates, we've got eyes